Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the patrol cruiser Nexus Prime, watching the stars drift past the main viewing screen. Space looked peaceful out here in the outer rim, but Jake knew better than to trust the quiet. He had been patrolling these sectors for 8 years, and space always had surprises waiting. The bridge hummed with the usual sounds of a working starship. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at the tactical station, her fingers dancing over the weapons controls as she ran another system check. Commander Paul Williams stood near the navigation console, reviewing their patrol route for the 3rd time that day. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker was somewhere below in the engine room, making sure their old ship kept running smoothly. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler Junction," announced Danny Brooks from the sensor station. The young officer had only been assigned to the Nexus Prime 6 months ago, but he was sharp and reliable. "All shipping lanes show normal traffic patterns." Jake nodded. The Kepler Junction was one of the busiest trade routes in this sector. Ships from dozens of different alien species passed through here every day, carrying goods between the inner worlds and the frontier colonies. It was also a prime location for pirates and smugglers, which was why the Galactic Dominion kept a patrol ship stationed nearby. "Keep scanning, Brooks," Jake said. "Pirates like to hide in the asteroid fields around here." Amy looked up from her console. "Sir, all weapon systems are green. If we run into trouble, we're ready for it." Paul smiled. "Let's hope we don't need them today. It's been a quiet week and I'd like to keep it that way." Jake had to agree. Quiet weeks were good weeks in his experience. The last time they'd had real excitement, they'd spent 3 days chasing smugglers through an asteroid field, and the Nexus Prime had needed 2 weeks of repairs afterward. "Contact approaching from Sector 7, Brooks called out suddenly. His voice carried a note of confusion. "Sir, this is odd. The ship isn't responding to our identification requests." Jake turned toward the sensor station. "What kind of ship is it, Brooks?" "That's the problem, sir. I can't identify it. The computer doesn't recognize the design, and there are no registration codes in our database." Brooks frowned at his screen. "The energy signature is completely unknown too." Paul moved closer to look at the sensor readings. Could it be a new design from one of the inner worlds? Sometimes the military tests new ships out here where nobody will see them. "I thought of that," Brooks replied. "But sir, this thing is big. Really big. And it's moving fast, faster than anything should be able to move in normal space." Amy's hands moved to her weapon controls. "Captain, should I bring the weapons online?" Jake considered the options. Unknown ships made him nervous, especially ones that didn't respond to standard communications. "Not yet, Rodriguez. Let's try to talk to them first." He turned to the communications officer. "Open a channel on all standard frequencies." The communications officer nodded and worked at his console. "Channel open, sir." Jake stepped forward and spoke clearly. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Galactic Dominion patrol ship Nexus Prime. You are entering controlled space. Please identify yourself and state your business in this sector." They waited. The bridge fell, silent except for the usual background hum of the ship's systems. Jake counted the seconds in his head. Standard protocol called for a response within 30 seconds on emergency frequencies. "No response, Captain," the communications officer reported. "Sir," Brooks called out, his voice tighter now. "The contact is changing course. It's headed directly for us." Jake felt his stomach drop. A ship that didn't respond to communications and was now on an intercept course was never good news. "How long until intercept?" "At current speed, 12 minutes, sir." Paul moved to stand beside Jake. "Captain, I recommend we move to a safe distance and call for backup." "Already thought of that," Jake replied. "Communications, send a priority message to Dominion Command. Tell them we have an unidentified vessel, refusing to respond to communication attempts." "Aye, sir. Sending now." Amy looked back from her station. "Sir, should I charge the weapons? Just in case?" Jake nodded. "Do it, but keep them powered down. I don't want to look aggressive unless we have to." "Weapons charging, sir." Brooks suddenly straightened in his chair. "Captain, you need to see this." The unknown ship is accelerating again. It's moving at speeds that should be impossible. How impossible? Paul asked. Sir, according to my readings, that ship is moving at nearly twice the maximum speed of our fastest interceptors, and it's still accelerating. Jake stared at the main screen, though the approaching ship was still too far away to see. That's not possible. No known technology can push a ship that large to those speeds. Sir, the communications officer called out. Dominion Command is requesting more details about the contact. Tell them what we know. Unknown design, unknown energy. Signature, not responding to communications and moving at impossible speeds. Jake paused. And tell them it's headed straight for us. Lisa Parker's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. Captain, I'm reading some strange energy fluctuations out there. Whatever that ship is using for power, it's like nothing I've ever seen. Can you tell us anything useful about it, Chief? Not yet, sir, but I'm working on it. I've never seen energy readings like this before. Jake turned to Paul. Commander, what's your assessment? Paul looked at the tactical display. Sir, I think we're dealing with something that's not in any of our databases for a reason. This could be a first contact situation. Or it could be a weapon, Amy added grimly. Brooks looked up from his console. Captain, the ship is slowing down. It's matching our course and speed. Distance? 5,000 kilometers and closing slowly. Jake took a deep breath. Whatever was about to happen, his crew and his ship were ready for it. The Nexus Prime wasn't the newest or fastest ship in the fleet, but she was solid and reliable. More importantly, his crew was experienced and competent. All stations report readiness, Jake ordered. Weapons ready, Amy responded. Navigation ready, came from the helm. Communications ready, sir. Engineering ready, Lisa's voice came from below. Jake looked at the main screen again. Soon they would get their first visual of whatever was approaching them. He had a feeling that in a few minutes everything was going to change. Brooks, put the contact on the main screen as soon as you can get a visual. Aye, sir. Visual contact in 30 seconds. The bridge fell silent again as everyone waited to see what was coming, toward them out of the darkness of space. The main screen flickered and then showed the approaching vessel. Jake Morrison felt his breath catch in his throat. The ship was unlike anything he had ever seen in his years of service. It was dark gray, almost black, with sharp angles that seemed to cut through space itself. Strange lights pulsed along its hull in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Brooks, how big is that thing? Jake asked, his voice steady, despite the shock. Danny Brooks checked his readings twice before answering. Sir, it's nearly 3 times the size of our ship, and those weapon ports along the sides, I count at least 20 of them. Commander Paul Williams stepped closer to the screen. I've never seen a design like that. It doesn't match any known species in our database. Amy Rodriguez kept her hands ready at the weapons console. Captain, that ship is definitely built for war. Those aren't exploration or trade configurations. The unknown vessel continued its slow approach, now close enough that they could see details on its hull. Strange symbols covered its surface, symbols that looked ancient and somehow threatening. The ship moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Sir, the communications officer called out. Still no response to our hails. They're either ignoring us or can't receive our signals. Jake made a decision. I'll stop. Let them come to us. Maybe they're just curious. The Nexus Prime's engines went quiet, and the ship drifted in space. The alien vessel continued its approach, now only 2,000 kilometers away. Jake could feel the tension on the bridge growing with each passing second. Captain, Lisa Parker's voice came from the engine room. I'm reading massive energy buildups from that ship. Whatever they're planning to do, they're powering up for it. Jake's military training kicked in. Rodriguez, bring shields to full power. All hands, battle stations. The alert klaxon sounded throughout the ship. Amy's fingers moved quickly over her console. Shields at maximum, sir. All weapon systems armed and ready. Brooks, keep scanning that ship. I want to know what they're capable of. Sir, their energy output is off the charts. Our computers can't even classify their power source. The alien ship suddenly stopped moving forward. For a moment, everything was still. Jake hoped that maybe they could talk their way out of whatever was about to happen. Then the alien ship opened fire. The first blast hit the Nexus Prime's forward shields like a hammer blow. The entire ship shook violently, and sparks flew from several consoles on the bridge. The lights flickered and dimmed, shields down to 60% from one hit. Amy shouted over the alarms that were now sounding. "Sir, their weapons are incredibly powerful. Return fire," Jake ordered. "All weapons target their weapon systems." Amy pressed the firing controls. The Nexus Prime's pulse cannons and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the alien vessel. Jake watched the tactical display, hoping to see some damage to their attacker. The weapons hit the alien ship directly. The explosions were bright against its dark hull. But when the light faded, the ship was completely undamaged. It didn't even slow down. "No effect, sir," Amy reported, disbelief in her voice. "Our weapons didn't even scratch their hull." The alien ship fired again, this time with multiple weapons. The Nexus Prime's shields flared and died under the assault. The next, shots hit the hull directly. "Hull breach on Deck 5, Paul shouted. "Emergency bulkheads are sealing, but we've lost life support to that section." Jake grabbed his chair as another blast rocked the ship. "Damage report." "Forward weapons offline," Amy called out. "We've lost main sensors and long-range communications. Engineering. To bridge." Lisa's voice came through the intercom, distorted by static. "We've lost main power to the port side. I'm trying to reroute, but it's going to take time." The alien ship had stopped firing, but it remained in position, obviously ready to resume the attack at any moment. Jake realized they were completely outmatched. Their weapons couldn't hurt the alien vessel, and their shields couldn't protect them from its weapons. "Sir," Brooks said, his voice shaking slightly. "The alien ship is scanning us. Very detailed scans, like they're studying our technology." "Studying us for what?" Paul asked. Before anyone could answer, something strange happened. The alien ship began transmitting, but not on any communication frequency they recognized. Brooks worked frantically at his console. "Sir, they're sending some kind of data stream directly to our computers. It's not trying to damage our systems, but it's definitely intrusive." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Can you block it?" "I'm trying, sir, but their signal is incredibly strong. It's like they're reading our entire database." Amy looked up from her damaged console. "Captain, if they're reading our databases, they're learning everything about the Dominion fleet capabilities, our bases, our defensive positions." The implications hit Jake like a cold wave. If this alien ship could defeat them so easily, and if it was gathering intelligence about the Galactic Dominion's military, then this wasn't just a first contact situation. This was the beginning of an invasion. "Brooks, are you picking up any other ships like this one?" Danny worked at his sensors, trying to get clear readings through the damage. "Sir, I'm detecting similar energy signatures in 3 other sectors. There are more of them out there." Paul looked at Jake with grim understanding. "Captain, we need to warn Dominion Command." "Communications are down," Jake replied. "We can't send a message beyond this system." The alien ship suddenly moved closer, positioning itself directly in front of the Nexus Prime. Then something unexpected happened. The scanning stopped, and a new signal came through their damaged communication system. "Sir," the communications officer said, surprise in his voice. "I think they're trying to establish communication. The signal is being translated by our computers." Jake straightened in his chair. "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge, deep and somehow ancient. The words were clearly translated, but they carried an alien cadence that made everyone uncomfortable. "Primitive, vessel, you have been evaluated. Your technology is weak, but your ship's construction shows potential for adaptation. Prepare to be boarded for further examination." Jake's blood ran cold. "Boarded? Like hell they will," the alien continued speaking. "Resistance is pointless. Your weapons cannot harm us, and your defenses are inadequate. Comply, and your crew will be spared for questioning. Resist, and you will be destroyed." Amy looked at Jake. "Sir, what are your orders?" Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were damaged, outgunned, and completely outmatched. But they were still alive, and they still had options. Maybe not good options, but options nonetheless. We don't surrender to anyone, Jake said firmly. Chief Parker, can you give us engine power? Lisa's voice came back immediately. I can give you emergency power, but not much more. That'll have to do. Jake turned to his crew. We're not going to win this fight, but maybe we can escape and warn the Dominion about what's coming. The alien voice spoke again. You have 30 seconds to comply. After that, we will take your ship by force. Jake looked at the countdown timer that had appeared on their screens. 30 seconds to decide the fate of his crew, and possibly the entire Galactic Dominion. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers, Jake announced. We're getting out of here. Jake Morrison watched the countdown timer reach 0. The alien ship began moving toward them again, but before it could get closer, something strange happened. The massive vessel suddenly stopped and powered down its weapons. Sir, Danny Brooks called out from his damaged sensor station. The alien ship is receiving some kind of transmission. It's not from us. From where then? Commander Paul Williams asked. I don't know, sir, but it's definitely communicating with something else. The bridge crew waited in tense silence. Jake kept his hand ready on the emergency controls, prepared to order an escape attempt at any moment. But the alien ship remained motionless, apparently focused on its mysterious communication. After several long minutes, the alien voice returned to their speakers. This time it sounded different, less threatening but somehow more ominous. Primitive beings of the vessel Nexus Prime, your execution has been postponed. You will answer questions. Compliance will determine if your species survives what is coming. Amy Rodriguez looked up from her weapons console. Captain, they're not scanning us anymore. Whatever they're doing, it's changed their priorities. The alien continued speaking. We are the hegemony. Long ago we ruled this sector of space before your pathetic civilizations existed. We have returned to reclaim what was always ours. Jake felt his stomach drop. If these beings had once ruled this entire sector, then the Galactic Dominion was built on top of their former territory. Brooks, are you recording this? Yes, sir. Getting everything. The alien voice carried on with what sounded like a prepared speech. Your Galactic Dominion is an infection that has spread across our worlds. The species you call allies are squatters who have forgotten their place. We have returned to restore the natural order. Paul stepped closer to Jake. Sir, if they're telling the truth, this explains why we've never seen their technology before. They're not from any current civilization. The question is, Jake said quietly, what happened to them? If they were so powerful, why did they disappear? If hearing his question, the alien answered, we were forced to flee to the deep void beyond your small galaxy. Something hunts us there. Something that devours worlds and civilizations. We have spent centuries running, growing stronger, preparing for our return. Amy looked confused. They were running from something, but they're so much more advanced than us. The alien ship began moving again, but this time it approached slowly, almost carefully. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our vessels, and your defenses are meaningless against our power. However, your species shows certain qualities that may prove useful. Jake didn't like the sound of that. Useful for what? The answer came quickly. Your kind fights with desperation that other species lack. You adapt quickly to new situations. These traits may serve us when the true enemy arrives. True enemy? Paul asked quietly. The alien continued. The force that drove us from our original territory has followed us here. Your galaxy will face consumption within your next solar cycle. All worlds, all species, all life will be devoured unless we prepare proper defenses. Brooks looked up from his station with wide eyes. Sir, they're talking about something that can destroy an entire galaxy? The alien voice took on what almost sounded like urgency. Your Galactic Dominion's leaders know of our existence. They have known for decades. They built their government on the ruins of our empire, using our abandoned technology and hiding the truth from their own people. Jake felt anger building in his chest. They knew? Command knew about you and never told us? Your leaders prepared for our return by designating Outer Rim territories as expendable. Ships like yours were positioned as early warning systems, meant to be sacrificed when we arrived. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing the same mixture of shock and anger on their faces that he felt. Amy spoke first. "Sir, are they saying that Command sent us out here knowing we might be killed?" "That's exactly what they're saying," Paul replied grimly. The alien continued its revelation. "Your Dominion Council has been secretly building weapons and defenses in the inner systems while leaving the outer colonies unprotected. They plan to abandon half their territory to buy time." Jake's mind raced. If this was true, then everything they'd been fighting for, everything they'd believed about protecting the frontier worlds, was a lie. The Dominion wasn't trying to protect everyone equally. They were preparing to sacrifice the outer rim to save the core worlds. "Why are you telling us this?" Jake asked aloud. The alien response was immediate. "Because your leader's plan will fail. The coming darkness cannot be stopped by conventional weapons or hiding behind planetary shields. It requires unity among all species, and the willingness to fight with total commitment." Brooks looked up from his console. "Sir, I'm detecting movement in nearby systems. More ships like this one are appearing throughout Dominion space." The alien confirmed what Brooks was reporting. "Our fleet has returned in full force. We are offering each world a choice. Join us in preparing for the true war, or be removed as an obstacle to survival." Paul leaned closer to Jake. "Captain, what do we do? They're clearly more advanced than us, but everything they're telling us could be lies." Jake thought carefully. The alien ship could have destroyed them easily, but instead it was talking. That suggested they really did want cooperation rather than just conquest. But could they trust beings who had just attacked them? "What exactly are you asking us to do?" Jake said to the alien. "Your ship will serve as a demonstration. You will accompany us to the nearest Dominion base and witness our offer of alliance. Your leaders will have the opportunity to choose cooperation over destruction." Amy checked her weapons display. "Sir, we still can't fight them. If we refuse, they'll probably destroy us. And if we cooperate," Paul added, "we might be helping them conquer the Dominion." The alien voice returned. "Your hesitation is understandable, but irrelevant. The choice is not between freedom and conquest. The choice is between unity and extinction. The destroyer that follows us leaves no worlds behind, no survivors, no hope." Jake looked at his damaged ship and his wounded crew. They had no real choice in the matter. The aliens were too powerful to fight, and if they were telling the truth about a greater threat, then cooperation might be the only way to save everyone. "If we agree to come with you," Jake said, "what guarantee do we have that you won't just kill us later? You have our word as fellow warriors facing extinction. Nothing more, nothing less." Jake took a deep breath and made his decision. "Very well, we'll accompany you. But my crew stays safe and we maintain our ship's independence." "Acceptable. Follow our vessel to Starbase Delta 7. There, your leaders will learn the truth they have hidden from you." As the Nexus Prime began following the alien ship deeper into Dominion space, Jake wondered if he had just made the right choice or doomed them all. The journey to Starbase Delta 7 took 6 hours. During that time, Jake Morrison and his crew worked to repair their damaged systems while keeping a careful watch on their hegemony escort. The alien ship stayed close but made no threatening moves, Captain, Amy Rodriguez called from her station. "I'm picking up emergency broadcasts from the starbase. They're reporting multiple unknown contacts throughout the system." Jake wasn't surprised. If the hegemony had returned in force as they claimed, then Delta 7 was probably seeing more ships like the one escorting them. "What's the response from base command?" "They're ordering all civilian traffic to evacuate the system immediately. Military vessels are being recalled to defend the base." Commander Paul Williams looked at the tactical display. "Sir, we're going to arrive right in the middle of what looks like a major confrontation." Danny Brooks adjusted his sensors. "I'm counting at least 12 hegemony vessels in the system now. The starbase has maybe 30 ships trying to form a defensive line." Jake did the math in his head. If each hegemony ship was as powerful as the one that had easily defeated them, then 30 Dominion vessels wouldn't stand much of a chance. "Brooks, can you get me a communication link with Delta 7? Working on it, sir. Our long-range communications are still damaged, but I might be able to patch through our escort ship. The alien voice that had been speaking to them earlier returned to their speakers. Nexus Prime, we are approaching the demonstration site. Your base commanders have been informed of our peaceful intentions, but they continue to maintain hostile positions. Jake had served with some of the officers at Delta 7. They were good people who would fight to protect their sector even against impossible odds. They're just doing their job. Standing down isn't easy when you're facing unknown ships. Their courage is noted and respected, the alien replied. However, courage without wisdom leads to unnecessary death. We hope your presence will help them understand the situation. As they entered the Delta 7 system, Jake could see the defensive formation on his tactical screen. Dominion cruisers and destroyers had formed a protective line around the starbase, while civilian ships fled toward the system's edge. The hegemony vessels hung back, making no aggressive moves but clearly demonstrating their overwhelming numbers. Sir, the communications officer reported, I'm receiving a direct message from Admiral Kate Sullivan at Delta 7. She wants to speak with you immediately. Jake knew Kate Sullivan well. She was tough, smart, and completely dedicated to protecting Dominion space. Put her through, Admiral. Sullivan's voice came through clearly, though it carried an edge of stress. Jake, what the hell is going on out there? We've got reports of alien ships attacking patrol vessels, and now you show up escorted by one of them. Admiral, it's complicated. These beings call themselves the hegemony, and they claim they used to rule this sector before the Dominion existed. That's impossible. Our historical records go back thousands of years. Jake looked at his crew, then made a difficult decision. Kate, I think our historical records might be incomplete. These aliens know things about Dominion Command that suggest our leaders have been hiding information from us. There was a long pause before Sullivan responded. Jake, are you saying you believe them? I'm saying they could have destroyed us easily, but instead they're trying to talk. That suggests they want something other than just conquest. Chief Engineer, Lisa Parker's voice came over the intercom. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy readings from our escort ship. The technology is definitely not from any known species, but some of the basic principles are similar to our most advanced systems. Similar how? Jake asked. It's like someone took our technology and advanced it by several hundred years. The fundamental science is the same, but the application is far beyond anything we can do. Jake thought about what Lisa was telling him. If the hegemony technology was an advanced version of Dominion science, that might support their claim about once ruling this territory. Admiral Sullivan's voice returned. Jake, I need you to get clear of that alien ship. We're preparing to engage them if they make any hostile moves. Kate, wait. Let me talk to their commander first. Maybe we can avoid a fight. You have 5 minutes before I have to assume you're compromised. Jake understood her position. From her perspective, he might be under alien control or coercion. Understood. 5 minutes. He turned to his communications officer. Get me a direct line to the hegemony commander. The alien voice returned quickly. Captain Morrison, your admiral is preparing to attack our vessels. This would be a mistake that would cost many lives. Can you prove what you've told us about the Dominion hiding your existence? Observe. Suddenly, the main screen filled with images and documents that Jake recognized as classified Dominion files. Personnel records, military reports, and research data scrolled past faster than he could. Read, but he caught enough to understand what he was seeing. Brooks, are you recording this? Yes, sir. It's all being logged. The files showed decades of research into alien artifacts found throughout Dominion space. Scientists had been studying technology that was clearly more advanced than anything the known species could produce. Reports mentioned preparations for the return of the artifact's creators. Most shocking were the military planning documents. Jake could see strategic plans that designated the Outer Rim territories as expendable in case of an alien invasion. His own sector was marked as a buffer zone to be abandoned if necessary. Paul read over Jake's shoulder. Sir, these documents are stamped with command authority seals. If they're real, then everything the hegemony told us is true. Amy looked up from her station. Captain, Admiral Sullivan is charging weapons. She's not going to wait much longer. Jake made his decision. Open a channel to Delta 7. Admiral Sullivan, I'm transmitting data that you need to see immediately. The hegemony isn't lying about Command's knowledge of their existence. Jake, I can't trust data that comes from an alien source. Then check your own classified databases. Look for research files on advanced alien artifacts. Look for military contingency plans regarding the Outer Rim territories. There was a long silence from the starbase. Jake could imagine Admiral Sullivan, frantically checking her own classified systems, finding the same information the hegemony had just shown them. Finally, her voice returned, quieter and filled with disbelief. My God, Jake, it's all here. Command has known about this for decades. The hegemony commander spoke again. Admiral Sullivan, your people have been preparing for our return, but they have prepared for conquest, not for alliance. The true threat that drove us away is still coming. Your Dominion cannot face it alone. Sullivan's response was careful. What exactly are you proposing? Unity among all species in this galaxy. Shared technology and combined military forces. The enemy that follows us has destroyed countless civilizations. Only together do we have a chance of survival. Jake looked at his crew and made another decision. Admiral, I recommend we listen to what they have to offer. We're outgunned here, but more importantly, if they're telling the truth about a greater threat, we need to know what we're facing. Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of command responsibility. Very well, hegemony vessels, you have permission to approach the starbase under temporary ceasefire, but any hostile action will result in immediate retaliation. As the hegemony ships began moving toward Delta 7, Jake wondered if they had just taken the first step toward saving the galaxy or dooming it to conquest by beings they didn't understand. The meeting took place in the main conference room aboard Starbase Delta 7. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat across from the hegemony commander, a tall being with pale blue skin and eyes like liquid silver. Jake Morrison and his senior officers were present as witnesses to what might be the most important negotiation in galactic history. The hegemony commander spoke in perfect Dominion standard, though his voice carried that same ancient quality Jake had heard before. I am High Commander Vesse of the hegemony fleet. What you call the Galactic Dominion was built upon the foundation of our civilization. Admiral Sullivan kept her expression neutral. Our records show this territory was uninhabited when the first Dominion colonies were established. Your records were altered by your founding leaders, Vesse replied calmly. They discovered our abandoned cities and technology, then claimed this space as their own discovery, the advanced systems that power. Your most important worlds are modified versions of our designs. Jake watched Sullivan's face as she processed this information. He could see her connecting the dots, remembering things that had never quite made sense about early Dominion history. Commander Paul Williams leaned forward. If you're so advanced, why did you abandon this territory in the first place? Vesse's silver eyes darkened. Because something worse was coming, something that consumes entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. We call them the Devourers. Devourers? Amy Rodriguez asked. Living darkness that spreads from galaxy to galaxy. They strip worlds of all matter and energy, growing stronger with each system they consume. We fought them for centuries before being forced to flee. Danny Brooks had been quietly recording everything. Sir, how do we know these Devourers are real? Vesse touched a control device on his wrist. The conference room's main screen filled with images that made everyone gasp. Stars being drained of their light, planets crumbling into dust, entire solar systems going dark. These images were taken during our final battles in the home galaxy, Vesse explained. The Devourers consumed 90% of our territory before we managed to escape through deep space. Lisa Parker studied the images carefully. The energy signatures are unlike anything I've ever seen. This technology could actually drain the power from a star. Sullivan stood up and walked to the viewing window. Outside, both hegemony and Dominion ships waited in tense formation. Assuming we believe you, why should we trust you? You attacked our ships when you returned. We tested your military capabilities to determine if cooperation was possible, Vex answered. Your species shows the adaptability and determination necessary for the coming war. Other species in this galaxy lack these qualities, Jake thought. About their earlier encounter. You could have destroyed us easily, but you didn't. You were evaluating us. Correct. The hegemony requires allies who will fight even when victory seems impossible. Your kind demonstrated this quality. Admiral Sullivan turned back to face the group. What exactly are you proposing? Vex activated another display. This one showed tactical formations and weapon designs. Combined fleets using hybrid technology. Your adaptability merged with our advanced systems, shared command structure with joint operations. And if we refuse? Sullivan asked. Then you will face the Devourers alone when they arrive in approximately 8 of your months. They will consume this galaxy just as they consumed ours. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Jake looked around the table at faces filled with disbelief and fear. Paul broke the silence. How do we know you're not just using the threat of these Devourers to make us submit to conquest? Vex stood up and walked to the window. Because conquest requires living subjects and habitable worlds. The Devourers leave neither. If we wanted to rule you, we would have simply taken your territory by force. Amy checked her tactical display. Sir, the hegemony fleet could have destroyed Delta 7 and every ship in this system within minutes. They clearly don't need our permission to take whatever they want. Sullivan sat back down. Assuming we agree to this alliance, what would it look like? Joint training programs, technology sharing, combined production facilities, most importantly, unified command when the Devourers arrive. Jake thought about his crew and the billions of people living throughout Dominion space. What are our chances of survival if we work together? Unknown, Vex replied honestly. The Devourers have never been permanently defeated, but together, we might be able to slow their advance or force them to seek easier targets in other galaxies. Brooks looked up from his recordings. Sir, I'm receiving emergency transmissions from throughout Dominion space. Similar meetings are taking place at major bases across all sectors. The hegemony is making this offer to everyone simultaneously, Sullivan realized. Correct. Unity must be complete or it will fail entirely. Lisa had been studying the technical data. Captain, their technology could advance our defensive capabilities by centuries. Our current weapons wouldn't even slow down these Devourers. Admiral Sullivan made her decision. I'll need to contact Dominion Command before I can agree to anything this significant. Your commanders already know of our return, Vex said. They are currently in emergency session on your capital world. However, time is limited. The Devourers' advanced scouts have already been detected at the edge of this galaxy. Jake felt his blood run cold. They're already here? Advance elements only, but their arrival means the main force will follow within months. Sullivan activated her communication system. All hands, this is Admiral Sullivan. Prepare for immediate priority transmission to Dominion Command. As the Admiral began recording her report, Jake realized that everything had changed. The comfortable world of routine patrols and minor conflicts was gone forever. Now they faced a choice between alliance, with former enemies, or extinction at the hands of something far worse. Vex approached Jake privately. Captain Morrison, your crew performed well under impossible circumstances. The hegemony would be honored to have officers like you in our combined fleet. Jake looked at his crew, then back at the alien commander. If we do this, if we agree to work together, will our people maintain their independence? Independence is meaningless if your species is extinct. But yes, local governance will remain under Dominion authority. We seek military alliance, not political conquest. Hours later, after encrypted communications with Dominion Command and emergency votes in the Galactic Council, the decision was made. The alliance was approved by a narrow margin, with the Outer Rim territories voting overwhelmingly in favor. Jake stood on the bridge of the Nexus Prime, watching as Hegemony and Dominion engineers worked together to install new defensive systems. The sight would have been unimaginable just days before. Sir, Brooks called out. Long-range sensors are detecting something at the galactic edge. Multiple contacts moving this way. Jake looked at the sensor readings and felt his stomach drop. Whatever was coming was massive, dark, and unlike anything they had ever faced. "Signal the fleet," Jake ordered. "It's time to see if this alliance can actually work." The war for the galaxy was about to begin,